Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Welcome, everybody. Call the meeting to order at, I guess, 6 o'clock on March 21st, 2022 at the town hall. A motion to adopt the agenda. We have we have an addition under the highway reporters for mileage. Okay, so that'd be the only change that I see here. So we need a motion to amend the agenda. So moved.
So moved.
Okay. Everybody, a second, who seconded?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now we need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good. Now come the minutes of March 7th. Are there any additions or corrections for the minutes as presented? If there are not, somebody will make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Somebody second it?
I'll second.
Okay. Since there's nothing here, so all in favor of approving the minutes of March 7th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Alrighty, highway. Yeah, you're.
So we got FEMA meeting that, so Katie was here today and went over a bunch of stuff with Michelle, and so Michelle sent a message saying that she's sent pretty much everything she needs except for some administrative paperwork for Bill, John and I. Everything is being sent up now to them to start. I think Katie's gonna put it into the portal. So hopefully that stuff start getting submitted for the projects for the FEMA. That's all I have on that. There's a highway 121. I only saw the email that Bill forwarded. But it looks like it was okay. Correct. The Fed aid, they okayed it. It's just now waiting for the money to come back in.
Yes, with the Fed Aid highways,
Yes.
okay, I'm sorry. Fed Aid highways, this is a situation, Mark Pickering with me and said it's all set to go. In our case, we did it as emergency work. His email said, don't start any work until you get approval. Well, that doesn't apply to emergency work. And secondly, we have approval from Scott Jensen. I wrote to him today. He's gonna dig out those approvals for the work that he gave beforehand, and he will then send it to me with notes. So we should have all that. My plan was to send that to Mark Pickering and say, not only did we present our costs, but we had the approval. I already had written that to him, but I guess I didn't send
I
it.
guess the letter once from Scott that we had done all that.
I thought we did too, but I can't find it, so he's gonna dig it out.
The weight permits, that's, Bill has them. And other,
Here's a report of the roads.
they're all very bad shape right now. You know, when I talked to Bill earlier, I thought we had them pretty much so they're passable to most four-wheel drives. And then we get a call that they got 3 cars stuck on Red Orchard cars. We just can't get to these spots. You know, we're running as long as we can during the day. And like this morning, we went out on a stage road and fixed a spot that was really bad. But you know, I can't destroy 2 miles of road to fix one spot and then work my way up. It's just, I got 4 trucks hauling in material. It's costing about $10,000 a day just for that. I've had, tomorrow will be 3 days. That's the surplus of salt and sand budget right there gone after tomorrow. Backside of Fisher Hill is just, it's supposed to be cold in the morning. I'm gonna try putting some material on it. Cambridgeport Road, from the old farmhouse, I don't know the people's name down there, but from there to the Rockingham town line, I'm not even gonna attempt to fix. There's no reason for people to be going over the Cambridgeport Road. I'm gonna fix it to the last house so that they can get in and out. Sounds like I gotta go back to Right Orchard if it's cold enough in the morning and probably Easton again. But we've been on almost all of them. I worked until 11:30 last night, on Middletown, 121 Stage and Hall Ranch Road, trying to smooth them and, it made them better, but I'm windrowing the road surface to the edge of the road just to get some of the slime and mud off so people can go. Anderson Road is the absolute worst. I don't know how they're actually getting in and out, even after I pushed everything to the side yesterday, Sunday morning.
The road stinks during good weather.
There's a lot of traffic over there.
Yeah, a lot of houses.
Living there full time. But I mean, even the town pickups, we have a hard time getting up on some of them. I got a lot of messages with ugly people, but I don't know how else, we're doing what we can with them. I haven't even been to upper 121 yet to see what that is, but my feeling again on that road, you can go over 35 into Chester and up around. There's no houses up there, so I don't feel that there's a place to spend a lot of the town money with no residents on the road. I'm trying to keep where people live so that they can get in and out. Not working in all places.
They said, I read an article that said this was the worst mud season in 20 years.
I've seen worse, but not the whole town. I mean, I've seen like Right Orchard go bad, the whole length of it. By the time you get that one fixed, you might go to another road, but this is just everywhere. We're putting about 20, 26 loads a day out the 2 town trucks on the roads. And it's a 1.5 inch plant mix and 1.5 inch stone mixing. Works really good and kind of holds up to the rain and everything. They're talking rain on Thursday. So the only reason I went around Wind Road on Sunday was there was so much water setting in the ruts. I felt that it wasn't gonna hurt them. It's never gonna dry out and you get a lake in the middle of the road. So I just went around Wind Road to fill the ruts in and force the water out. And they're looking good today. This wind blowing. It's amazing, Parker Hill, that one is dry. I'm gonna try actually grading this tomorrow afternoon before we get the rain. Bell Road, Fisher Hill with the trucks. I mean, the trucks, there's 4 trucks all day long.
Yeah.
And we haven't put any material on. So it's strange. Right Orchard, you might have 150 foot of road that's dry and the rest of it's just a mud bog all the way to the end.
Is the trash truck considered essential? I see people go up
You can
there.
stop
I'm
it.
surprised.
You can stop oil trucks, rubbish trucks. Most of the rubbish trucks won't go. I met,
Triple T?
Casella's
Oh,
Or Jerry
waste management's truck. They went to the end of the blacktop on 121 and backed out. Ruggiero will go.
And he went up to my house. I was like, I don't know if he's good, but he made it.
Top of the hill, it's good all the way
Yeah,
over to the back side.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do put them things everywhere. And we've never in the past have stopped oil trucks or rubbish trucks.
Yeah.
Well, Waste Management went up this morning early, like 7:30.
Up and down.
Yeah.
But he didn't go up 121, which I'm shocked because 121 is, we've got that since pretty good all the way out through to Homeville. I mean, that's really good. I'm a small car or anything. But no, we've never stopped them. I don't know if I want 2 weeks of rubbish laying around the house, or I guess they could make arrangements to lug it out to them. But
I was just surprised to see him. I'm like, oh man, because I seen him go up Bell Road and I'm like, he's not gonna try the hill. And sure, yeah, he went up. I was like, he ain't gonna make it, but he did.
yeah, we put quite a few loads there in front of your place up through there, and you get ruts in it, but it holds them up.
Yeah.
If the cars can get on top of the ridges, they're hard. They go. It's when they drop into the ruts, they're getting hung up.
Did you have P&L, delivered today?
I had 2 of P&L's trucks, I have 1 of Jamie's truck, and I have Ivor Stevens. I will have I was just talking to John earlier, I told John I was gonna cut them all off, and then when I left here, went back to the shop and saw how little of a pile we had left after hauling today, I kept them on, so, but tomorrow there'll be, maybe 3 trucks total.
So where are they getting their gravel and stuff?
They're coming out of Sossaman and, up in 100 in Jamaica.
They don't do anything at Chase and Weston?
It's further away.
Well, I've heard some positive feedback, Danny. I've heard from residents, Oakenville Road, Stage Road, Right Orchard Road, but that was this morning. And, City Brook, they said you're doing a great job and there's only so much you can
Yeah.
do. Saturday was rough.
Yeah, but Saturday we didn't, with the rain, we didn't do anything.
Saturday was the worst day.
Yeah, I came in and looked at them. The rain helped it though. I mean, the rain really helped it out, pulled a lot of the
It
frost.
did.
And I think a lot of these places within a day or two, I think a lot of it will be out hopefully. Hinkley Brook, that won't be up till May. Just don't get any sunlight up through there.
We don't like anybody up there, do we?
But
It's
it's,
a short walk for me.
yeah, hopefully it'll be a short mud season, but it's definitely gonna be an
No,
expensive one.
Hinkley Brook, the bottom of Hinkley Brook where the problem is,
I fixed that,
it's draining, huh?
yeah.
It's fine.
So I just, I'm trying to keep not overspending, but I gotta have some material there for it. Our other pile is slowly thawing out, so we'll have that at some point, but, I will definitely have the trucks tomorrow and possibly again on Wednesday for material. The other problem I'm having is the Sossaman don't have much material left. There's no crushers in the pit, so they won't be making any for a little bit. Everybody's after the same product. So,
Sure.
and with the flood being last year, they pretty much emptied their pits, so I wouldn't be surprised in the next day or 2 days, just Osmo will be out of product. In the size that we use,
Well, let's hope that the roads are better in the 2 days.
yeah. I would go in tonight, but we're gonna start early tomorrow morning. It's supposed to be colder. So hopefully we can get out over some of the places that we haven't been able to with the trucks. But this afternoon, a lot of places are they're looking better. They're still wet, but they're not as, slop.
All right, we have, anything else, Dave? We have, some excess waste permits.
That's that quick for our 3 miles, Ivor Stevens, Gurney Brothers, Dead River, and also Camp Precast Concrete Products.
So we need a motion to.
Approve it and let me issue.
Bill sign them. Did you move it, Kevin?
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Like,
Opposed? Okay. The other thing, we have to sign this. This is certificate of highway mileage for the year 2022, which is, Bill has gone over and it's accurate. So I will pass it around. And all we need to do is sign it says select on the bottom there.
And leave space for the 5 of people.
Yeah, with 5 of us, all 5 of us got to sign it, so. Kim, you're on next.
I don't have anything. I gave you guys all the quarterly sheets of the expenditures. If you have any questions, you could ask me prior or even now, if there's something that you have a question on. Everything looks like it's pretty much in order. We're 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year. So the percentages, you can see we're hanging right around 72-73% on most of our budget items. Some of them you'll find at 100%, they get paid probably once a year, or they don't find them, on the low side. That's about all I have to say.
The next is the complicated one. That's the appointment of the local officials. So they're not gonna take effect, as I understand it, to May 15th?
No,
Oh,
just the planning commission and the DRB. I don't want to take effect till May 15th or so. I want to get the DRB through the hearings that they are already familiar with, and I want to then, and I don't want to interfere with the planning commission, whatever they have planned for that first Tuesday. And then, so all the others would be effective immediately. I'm just asking that you do that. And then with regard to the planning commission, in that column, next to the last column on the right, those are the new dates that those positions would run out, and those need to be, that needs to be part of the motion that you prove that those are the dates that Eric, whoever you, Seth, if you appoint him, Matt Siano, and either Ron or Lester and Margot Matt would run out to be different than what we now had.
Okay, so why don't we tackle the planning commission and the DRB board first? And so I need a motion to approve the members as of effective May 15th, and the motion has to include the changing of the dates where their terms expire.
Okay, and you're just dealing with them, you're just dealing with Chris Wallace's position and Ben Jones's position.
So would it be easier if we first voted on Ron or Les, and then voted on the slate for the planning commission with the new dates? Could we do it that way?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so why don't, so how do we do I make a motion for one or the other, or do we
Make
have
a
an
motion. You
election?
can make a
Yes.
couple of motions, and then it's easier that way, I think.
So I move we appoint Lester Schwab.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, any discussion?
And we're not voting for Ron Colette?
Excuse me?
And we're not voting for Ron Colette?
No.
We make a motion for it.
If you want to make a motion.
I make a motion to vote for Ron Colette.
Okay, so we have two
That was-
motions.
That was a suggestion from, planning commission.
You can't have two motions unless there's,
You're nominating right now,
oh,
and
no.
then you're gonna vote on.
Oh, okay, all right, so we
Okay.
have
Oh,
two. Okay.
I changed my motion into nominate.
Yeah.
I nominate Lester Schwab.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then Kathy, you're nominating Ron Colette. Okay. Now. You can have,
You won't have a second to Kathy's motion.
Second.
okay. Okay, so now all in favor?
No.
No?
Do it. Okay, whatever.
Well, you have to,
Yes, call out the names and who's voting for who. Yes.
yeah, and his name is, candidate,
Lester Schwab.
Lester Schwab. All in favor of Lester Schwab?
Aye.
Aye.
No, we don't have discussion about this?
If you want to have discussion, go ahead.
Is he part-time or full-time, Brad?
He's a part-time resident.
Does he have- I think I met him before. Don't you live in?
He lives across the street.
House?
Yeah, he's been there about 15 years and was, all here through the pandemic, he lived here. Is been retired here, but he's here about 3/4 of the month usually, and then goes back to New York.
So he does have plans on, for a position like that, I think that's kind of important, you know?
Loves the place, absolutely. Grafton, the way.
Does the planning board have a recommendation who they would like, or they're not allowed to, or?
They
Is
had
that-
recommended Ron first.
They had not considered any others. I just got this person's interest today.
Just today. Ron had requested way back beyond the planning commission, he has a degree in planning. And he's full-time.
I'd like to hear what the consensus of the planning board is, if that's how this is normally done. I'm not sure. I mean, I think they got a right to work with who they. I know we appoint, but I think they got a right to work with who they would like to.
I guess I'm concerned, are they aware that Lester is on this today and wasn't when they had the meetings a couple of weeks, or a month ago. When Ron came
A
up.
lot of these, I got 4 or 5 people that have volunteered for positions that were not fulfilled today, all from that letter that was in the Grafton News. People have said, yes, I should help the town.
But you already had Ron on there for a position.
I know, but I didn't, but I told everybody when I sent it out that these petitions have people like all the rest of them down there, the one name. I said, that doesn't mean that that person's going to be appointed. If you want to do it, let us know.
Mhm.
Now, with regard to the planning commission might want to make a recommendation now that they know there's a second person.
Yeah, that would be fine with me. I think it would be, I think it's very interesting that someone like Lester, I've never met him, but I've just read about his background. I think he has property management background, which would be a real asset to the planning commission, that skill set. And also he would come to it, I think, with some fresh vision, some fresh eyes. And since he's volunteered, I think he would have, you know, the motivation to participate. And the motivation is something we really had to struggle with the planning commission.
Well,
So
my-
I think we're lucky that someone like Lester actually volunteered and, I'm not
No, I agree with
suggesting that we
everything that
don't
you
go
said.
back to the
Yeah.
planning commission. I'm just saying that since we do have the purview of making the appointment, that it might be all right.
My suggestion is that we postpone the Grafton, the planning commission until next meeting and let them come forward with their recommendation.
Yeah.
But we can vote on changing of the dates.
Yes,
So why don't you make that motion to do that,
okay.
or someone to make the motion? to
Can-
change the dates.
Is it possible, I move that we change the dates for the termination of the 5 positions that are listed.
Do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that matter? Not all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, so now let's go to the development board. I don't think we have.
No, you're not done with the planning commission. You haven't made a decision.
Oh.
No, you haven't.
I said we'll postpone it. So
You said you
Yeah, okay.
postponed it, okay? The 5 people sitting at the
Okay, so-
table didn't say let's postpone it.
So I thought we agreed.
I did too.
So we make a motion to postpone it to the next meeting and let the planning commission weigh in on who they would like to have. and their
Make that
recommendation.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Sounds reasonable to me.
I'll second.
Okay.
Now,
Now, any
that
discussion?
includes Seth as well.
Yes. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay.
Who seconded it, please?
Kathy,
Thank you.
okay, so now we have the appointment of the DRB, which will take place on 5/15. Since there's no issues here, unless John, do we have to deal with the alternate with John?
The only, if John would rather not be on the thing, but be on the DRB, but be an alternate, we could put Seth on and make John the alternate, if you wish. What did you wish?
Well, it seems to me if you have somebody on there that's willing to do it, that you wouldn't search for someone new.
I'm not quite understanding your
Yeah,
point,
you
John.
want to stay on?
I would think you'd want me to stay on.
You do
I'd
want
rather
to stay on.
search for somebody else, but if you don't want me,
No, no.
that's fine.
No, I had a feeling that you didn't want to.
It doesn't make any difference.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so,
we just leave it alone.
so why don't we make a motion to appoint the slate of candidates that is on here now?
So what all you're doing is Chris and Seth Patchett. Those are the only 2 you're appointing. The rest are all still on there.
Do we need to go through the nomination process first, or can we just?
No, you're gonna come on. Because you're not choosing, it's okay.
There's no.
Chris is willing to stay on again, and Seth is willing to serve as alternate.
I move that we appoint Chris and Seth to the Development Review Board, and that their termination would be 2025.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion on the DRB? If not, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? And this takes effect on 5/15. So now we have all the rest of it, so. Could one motion solve the problem here?
It can if that's what it's like.
Unless somebody wants to do something different.
If you want any, I would just for a second, do some discussion. And there's a new name there under the WRC, a representative along with Eric, and that's Cheryl Kaufman. Eric is on if you would like to make a comment, but I told her if she wanted that position, she comes from the request for volunteers that was sent out, and she's interested in that position, and I told her you need to talk to Eric to see what needs to be done, and then Eric has been in that position so long that I thought he might give a recommendation.
Okay, I'm on. I talked to Cheryl today and give her a rundown of what we did. And it sounds to me like a good candidate. This is not requires a lot of Grafton background, but requires a lot of communication skill. The issues involved between state and the municipalities.
Okay? That's fine, that's good. As long as you're happy, Eric, that's fine by me.
And
I don't think there was any,
Kathy, you were able to, were you able to persuade Michelle to do the council on aging?
I mean, Barbara?
No, it's down for council on aging is Michelle, who's that?
Yes, he said yes. Well, she wants to do
we
it.
talked to Michelle today, Kim suggested that she do it because no one else had come forward, and she's really willing to do it and excited about it.
Because I talked to somebody else, Tracy Lake's wife, and she had other commitments.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So if there are any other questions, somebody want to make a motion to approve the appointment as presented?
So moved.
Second?
No, second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
One thing, just Seth. Does he do the town too? The name of that, or,
Seth?
yeah,
Seth Patrick,
yeah, is he,
they live up on Cognville Road, they're full-time residents.
Yeah.
don't think I met him.
They came here from Jacksonville,
Florida,
Florida, and he's working here remotely. He still belongs to the law firm in Jacksonville. He works remotely from here. They're very integrated into the community. They just jumped right into.
Which house did they buy?
It's
He's
the
got
last
two
house,
kids in school here.
it's the last house on the left going
Okay,
to Wyndham.
Okay, yeah.
It was the one that was refurbished a couple of years ago.
Yeah, really nice family.
Yeah.
If there's no other discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. The next item is the local emergency management plan.
Yeah, the first 10 pages are there. I sent you the entire one from last year. Although I have a couple here. I sent it out to you. There's one right there on your table over there, and there's one right in front of you, and there's one here on this table. I didn't want to print out the thing, and I wasn't going to print out 74 pages, but you had a chance to look at it. I sent it to you last week, so.
I already looked at this, so maybe you just,
And I didn't hear back I sent it to the emergency committee, which includes the fire chief and rescue. And I didn't get any comments from anybody with regard to any edits or changes. I got a Grafton fire roster updated one, and that's been attached. That had to be updated, and there's a few other things I had to update as far as position goes from last year that I made all those changes.
So if everybody's okay with it, we can need a motion to approve it, and then I will sign it.
I would like to say adopt it and
Adopt it.
then for you and I to sign.
Okay. So anyone that want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt the emergency management.
And then I sign and Bill signs as well for the order. Second,
Second.
if we have no other discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Rich, pass it over.
This is what I say.
Okay, we're into committee reports. We have I guess between Ken and Bill, we have now what the section does. This is the first time I've seen it. John has seen it, we hadn't had a chance to discuss it. So John and I will sit down with this thing and then we'll see and put it on for the next cemetery. And as far as I know, there's no other, the gentleman didn't come forward with anything else, so as soon as yes.
I sent that to you a long time ago, to all of you. I'm sorry if you didn't look
I
at it.
didn't see it.
April 1st,
I didn't see
the
it.
cemetery is open.
I know, but I did not see this.
Okay, so you guys need to take action on this, maybe a lot quicker than you think you need.
Well, I think that's me, you know?
Would
No,
we
I-
have any candidates for the job at all? Anyone who has expressed?
No,
any-
but you,
I haven't heard of any.
did you talk to Fenton Hennessy, Kim?
I talked to them, they very would like you to seek out some agent, if at all possible. They can fill in for the time being.
But they would do it now until we find somebody this
Yes,
month.
by default, they would. But that would be it by default
Okay.
if we got into trouble.
This takes a really special person,
Yeah,
It
it does.
does.
It really does. I don't
and
know
it's
who
a
this
very
person is.
important position in the town. It means a lot to our families at their most vulnerable time. And I wish we could find someone who really fit this job description.
Well, I think between now and then, let's all put our minds together and see if we can't find somebody who's willing to take this job.
Okay. You need to make a motion tonight. Which one of you is the sexton?
Well, can't Fenton and
Well, I just need to call upon somebody.
We can get the funeral director to be, but
temporarily. I mean, this is a big job.
I know, and it's a very important job to be done by somebody locally,
I understand
Yeah,
that.
okay?
for sure.
And not by either one or the other of the funeral directors that deal with it.
But I couldn't agree more, but, I mean, unless we have a volunteer, this is not my ballot. I mean, this is not something I need to do. I can,
You said you had a list of volunteers that called in, anybody of those volunteer lists interested?
We had no one, people have talked about it, but no one that's really been interested. Who were we talking to?
I just had somebody that was interested in actually mowing, but that was already contracted out,
Yeah.
so they weren't interested in being the actual agent, just the mowing portion of it.
And I talked to people, I don't remember who, that I thought would be really good representatives of the community that been, I don't remember who it was, but it was residents here, been here a long time, but I didn't get any commitment out of anybody.
I mean,
If it's a matter of help, I'll bring someone up there, short term, if it's a matter of helping out something, it's not a big deal.
I don't mind being that familiar face for people to come in at that time of need, discuss things, and if it can be postponed for as far out as we can until we do get somebody, I don't mind dealing with them, selling them a lot, need be, for any concerns, I can be that point person at them temporarily right now. I don't mind that. It just seems kind of hard to send them off to the funeral home, because I've not yet, and especially if it's only temporary, I haven't prepped them with a map,
Mhm.
any of our policies. And then you're sending, like you said, a vulnerable person at this particular
Yeah.
personal time to a funeral home.
Kim, this is the paid position, right?
We put in 1,000 for stipend and we did the budget, so it would be 1,000 in the stipend. And then it explained in the job description that when you do a cemetery burial of a cremation, it's between the agent or the sexton, whichever you like to call them. It's between them and the family members, setting a price. And typically that price is $150 to $175 is the average going for digging the small hole for cremation.
I see.
When it comes to a full burial, obviously the funeral home of some sort is involved. Then the funeral home deals with the agent or the sexton, and they have a set price that they would pay the agent because it's within the package of the burial through the funeral source. So Grafton's not really involved in anything when it comes to that.
That happens between the funeral home and the agent, or between the family and the agent at that time.
So they would collect those fees along with the stipend that we would have. It would just be coordinating the dates, making sure someone goes out and looks at a possible lot for sale, flagging where cornerstones go, flagging where a headstone would go, and bringing paperwork to me, and working with me as to looking at the map and finding out if that spot's available or not.
Well, I'm just wondering, I think it's lovely that both you and Rich have volunteered, but I'm just wondering about Michelle Hollis. She seems to have that kind of affinity for, caring.
But I mean, I don't think she would take on the agent job.
No,
Maybe you could ask her, well, because you need to be around on weekends. She's got a young child.
yeah, okay,
And a teenager in sports.
got it.
So, yeah, that's the hard part.
Yes,
Arranging
for the weekends. And that will be hard for both you and Rich too, I'm sure, as volunteers.
Oh, have you, advertised this in the Grafton News Bill?
Yes,
And didn't get anything?
pardon me?
Didn't get anything? That's fine.
Creeps too many people out,
What about
Good.
you know?
And even complicated too, because it's two people who knew where the graves were are no longer with us. So, I mean, even though we have the maps, but, they had firsthand knowledge of certain things, so that's even more complicated when you're going out there to,
Yeah.
go to, the location, particularly in the older cemeteries, if there are plots available, like
I
many
mean,
times.
I sold a couple since all this has happened, and primarily they went and they did look where they'd like, and then took a picture, came to me and told me who was who was in the vicinity, and I was able to look at the map and tell them whether it was available or not, and I was able to sell, and we got done 4 of them. And that's how I did it so far, without actually going into the field with them. Like I said, that in Hennessy said that, by default, they could help us out. And typically what they've done in other towns is they hold the maps also the same copy I have. Makes it easier for them to be able to put the headstones, know where the cornerstones are. And actually, it's even more precise for them as to mapping it where they're buried, because sometimes mapping and the burial don't always go together, and you find that out later in years. When you want to bury somebody there and you find out they're already, something's already there.
So the problem is, we had Arrowwood Senior, then we had Don, and then we had Walter. And for all those years, those people knew everything. Now we're starting fresh with an individual who has no real first-hand knowledge other than what we have, which complicates the matter. So, but Bill, can we,
You guys have to take some action tonight.
Yes.
So that she has somebody to rely on
Right.
beginning April 1st.
okay,
Period.
but if Rich is willing to take it
Yeah,
for
that's fine, then,
for
then
another couple of weeks,
if someone else comes up, then I'll,
and then.
Say seal it, yeah.
Kim,
perfect,
will that work?
perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Rich.
All right.
It's a dying job. Oh,
Do we have anything on the highway?
Are you going to appoint him?
Nope.
Oh,
temporary.
I guess. Is that-
Or you, if you're gonna pay him, you gotta appoint him.
Okay, all right, so we need a motion to appoint Rich.
And I don't mind doing this.
I moved to
Select
appoint
board.
Rich as the
Duties,
temporary
too.
cemetery
That's fine.
sexton.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay. Any other
And
discussion?
that was as temporary?
Temporary.
If there's no further discussion, all in favor of appointing Rich Thompson to be the sexton on a temporary basis, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Thank you.
You have anything in the highway committee? Okay. Parks, there's really nothing, the logging is done and
There's a few, of the, what do you call it, the firewood logs. By a few, I mean, there's a lot up there, but it's probably 2 or 3 truckloads at the most, once the roads get solid. They took an awful lot out of there, and that one day before all the roads softened up, P&L took a lot.
well, P and L put all the wood. So
Yeah.
as soon as the roads stiffen up again, then he'll take
Yeah,
it.
he'll take them out, so we won't be anywhere near April, I don't think, unless this mud season goes on.
And are they gonna repair, after they take those logs out, any repair work that needs to be done?
There's other work that needs to be done there. Once everything hardens up, the, Tim will go through with Longview. And they will go back through the trails and look at what needs to be cleaned up around the trails, yeah. There's, if you notice right above what's stacked up there right now, there's some trees down in the woods that have to be handled.
Was there any word on that? Didn't they probably apply for a second grant?
You know, we're,
They're just starting on that process for the second grant. They just got, I just sent to them, the, information for a meeting on, how to apply for the rest of it. And I sent that to Margot, Mikefield and Al Simmons, and, they're handling it. They keep me as the contact. I wish they would do it, but they keep me as contact. So everything I get, I send to them and they're handling it.
Good deal.
okay, personnel, we have the harassment training issue.
Yes, so following up on your question from the last meeting, Joe, Kathy and I pursued this, and the reason for taking the course is in fact to prevent harassment in the workplace. Specifically in the course description, it says that this course will teach you to identify workplace practices or behaviors that could have a discriminatory effect, identify harassing behaviors in the workplace, and take action to prevent harassment. So that's the purpose of the course and why it's part of the grievance process. So in following up with how to get this going and make it possible for people to take the training, Kathy and I spoke to our passive HR consultant, Jill, and she explained that there are 2 ways of taking the harassment training, and that's what created the confusion. The first choice is classroom experience with the select board and the employees, and Kim, if she so chooses, with a guest speaker. And the guest speaker would be funded by a grant applied for by the town. The second option is individual online training offered for free by passive. And the individuals take the course when it's convenient to you, and the select board could set a deadline so that we all complete it by a certain date. Kathy and I chose the individual training option. And just want to check in with you and make sure that that's agreeable to you, that the way to take this course would be to sign up for it on your computer, sit down at your convenience and take the course. It takes about 2 hours, rather than have an organized classroom experience. Are you okay with that?
Well, my question is, do we really need it?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we do not do the harassment treatment.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor without a second. I'll
We'd
wait.
have to have a second.
I'll second that, because I have some concerns about the training.
Okay, so we have a second, so we can discuss.
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't in the discussion too with, VLCT on this. I know I got your emails. I'm concerned because when we talked to the guys, there wasn't a problem with harassment or any kind of discriminatory problem. And I did mention in an email to you that what they need at times is training for teamwork.
Sure.
And the supervision at times with the supervisor. Nothing came up, nor do I know, when I've been on the board, there haven't been any discriminatory problems or harassment issues that were of a complaint. So I hear what Joe's saying, that we've not had a problem. I understand about prevention, I've been there, I've done it. And I think, Rich, you being a teacher now in the system, you have had training over that. I don't think it's the training that our guys need right now.
So you're
That's my
saying
opinion.
the time would be better served elsewhere.
Yes, with teamwork.
I think that's fair.
Team building, and I know there's stuff out there for this. But in talking to, when we did all the interviews as a personnel committee, nothing came up other than team building.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the kind of training that came up for the employees was definitely about teamwork and how to, I think that the only thing I'd ask you to consider is, I think there's a difference here. In the personnel policy, it contains a section on employee harassment and it contains a section on sexual harassment. And if the town should receive a complaint in either one of those two areas, it can be resolved or it can result in a civil litigation. And if it goes to court, it's a very protracted and expensive process for the town. And one of the reasons we put the harassment training as part of the grievance process in the personnel policy is not only to create a safer and better workplace for the employees, but also to mitigate what the town might experience in civil litigation. And this is something that PASSIV highly recommends a town select board engages in to mitigate that risk. And this board has been very careful to mitigate risk. We put a lid on a cistern in the village park. We don't drive the parking lot at the school. And this training falls into that same category to mitigate risk.
It's unfortunately part of our life these days. I've been through these trainings. They're absolutely miserable. I don't wish it upon anybody. Unfortunately, a lot of companies do it and municipalities do it. If PASSIV is saying, you know, we probably should, so we don't expose ourselves to, unfortunately, begrudgingly, you're probably right, it probably should be done. As much as I don't wish these guys to do it, too bad we couldn't, I don't know if it would give us any legal protection if we say we're gonna start doing it during an intake of orientation for new employees. Maybe the old guys could be grandfathered in, so we won't have to put them through the misery. I'm not sure.
Our policy is not mandating this training at all. I'm just clear about that. Policy doesn't say anything about training. It says, if you have a problem with discrimination, being discriminated, or being harassed by an employee, then you can pursue, actually, there's two different places you can go. And take it there.
Unfortunately, I agree with both of you. You're the lawyer, what do you think?
I'm not gonna talk about the lawyer, I'm talking about an employee. We have 4 employees. We all know each other. We know everybody's wives. We know everybody's children. If you want to throw in the elected official who isn't part of, should never be a part of the, she only is as part of the benefits of our personnel policy, not the punitive parts of our policy, because she's an elected official and that is handled a different way. I don't see if this is necessary. And I definitely don't want to sit through a bunch of CRT crap.
And I would say,
In addition to this harassment, I am not gonna sit through it. So if you guys, and you didn't hire me with that being one of the conditions that I have to put up with that stuff. We don't need it for 4 people. We don't have 400 people here that we don't know and we only see in the morning and don't even talk to like they do in the city. We have 4 people. And the issues that were brought up were the issues Kathy mentioned. You know, we were all raised by really good families because I know them, all I know they all are. What do we need this for?
look,
So what are you calling crap, Bill?
Harassment, why do we need, you tell me why we need harassment training.
listen,
Bill, I just asked you a question. What are you calling crap? That I didn't hear what you said is crap.
Telling me how to behave at 80 years old when I learned it when I was 6. That is correct.
So the training.
Yes.
look, I've been a selectman now 17 years, I think, or thereabouts. I've been in government here well over 22 years.
And
I lived here,
and this has been a town for more than 230
I
years.
lived here for in excess of over 40 years. We've never had an harassment problem. I talk to my employees. If I have a problem with Danny or with thing, I've sat down and talked to them, they've talked to me. We solve it out. I think it's absolutely unnecessary to have this kind of training, but for the 4 employees we have
Okay.
and the way the town is fit, that's just my feeling.
So, look, majority rules here, and I'm just pointing out that the grievance process, which is an addendum to the personnel policy, is where the training appears. Kim asked specifically if the employee and the sexual harassment parts of the policy apply to her as an elected official. And we actually researched that question and we put it in the addendum that she signs. So I just want to be really clear about Kim as an elected official. There's a motion on the floor. If it's the pleasure of the select board not to take the training and have that be part of the grievance process, then we will need to pass this motion and we will need to change subsequently the grievance policy and take the part out about the training. I want to be, I feel it's my responsibility to point out the risk that we are taking on as a select board if we decide not to sit down at our computers and take 2 hours of harassment training. So enough said.
Any other discussion?
I agree with everybody, unfortunately, but I know it is a norm these days, for better or for worse. I just assumed if it wasn't like that, but it seems like it is these days, you know? But maybe we should use sheet. Maybe we'll be
And
good.
Kathy, I also don't think this replaces or needs to be done in lieu of teamwork training. I think this is a free individual course. I don't think it's enough.
If you're gonna put anything in the policy, it should be an optional thing, not a mandated.
Well, that's a good option.
And they also are aware when they sign their contract, that it's in our policy, if they have a problem, they can go to those 2 entities to, make a complaint or whatever. But leave it as optional, but not mandated.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Since it's a little controversial, how do you, yea or nay?
I'll agree with Kathy, let's have it an option. I mean,
No, that's not, the motion is, do we need to do the training or not?
Do we need to do the training?
Do we want to do it or not? That's what the motion
Are
is.
we having a roll call vote? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yes.
The motion is motion by Kathy, second by John, not to do the harassment training.
Just the opposite. I made the motion.
Right.
John made a motion, Kathy,
So are you in favor?
I would rather not see it, but I could be short-sighted, so I would rather not see it, yes.
So it's no.
So if I'm understanding you guys, it's a no.
Okay. Don? No?
time out. Not to do the training is the motion.
Yeah.
The answer really yes.
Okay.
If you're against, if you don't want to do the training, you're for the motion.
Right, Kathy? No, right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, Sue?
I think I voted for it, I don't know.
Suzanne?
Bill, I want to vote against the motion,
So you're, yes.
whatever.
Okay, so we have
Against.
four against, four yes and one no. I mean,
Whatever way it is.
we have four who do not want to do the training and one says yes, okay? All right.
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
So, Joe, just to wrap this up, at the next meeting, we will need to take that off
Yeah,
have
we'll-
another motion to take it
We'll
off.
put that on the agenda. Building committee?
You have, and I sent you quite a while ago, two estimates for doing the work. This is got preliminary work to putting in the elevator for the electrical. And it is for Green Mountain Power to put in a transformer, a small transformer over here on the ground there, in front of the, on this side of the homestead, in line with the other transformers that are out there. There's a map on Green Mountain Power's, in the back of Green Mountain Power's estimate. The work that, there's a map on Lawrence and Lober's estimate. The Green Mountain Power cost for putting in the transformer is $5,320.80. And there would be then a cost of Lawrence and Lober to do the work to put it, to run the wiring and hook all that up, the 200 amp electrical supply. That cost will be about $7,960. So altogether, you're at about $13,000 to do that work. This is all preliminary to doing any work to install the elevator. That's the first part of what is presented on these two bills. The second part of what is on these bills is for them to do they'd have to relocate some of the electrical work because we're taking out the closet and have to realign all that electrical, and there's a electrical plug on the wall where the elevator is going, and that has to be relocated, and that's $1,600. It doesn't include moving the fire alarm. That would be Countryside's work when that was done. So that's separate from the $7,900. And then we asked him to look at putting up here two outlets on the wall that were more convenient, and also two outlets in the center of the floor here, and one of those outlets would contain the Ethernet hookup, so we don't have to run this wire all the way over there and come out of the floor here for the meeting purposes. And that cost of doing that work up here would be $2,290. That I'm not asking you necessarily to consider tonight, but we need to get permission from you to proceed with the Green Mountain Power work and the Lawrence and Lober's work to get this 200 amp service to the building, and also to that $1,500 to take care of the electrical work of what has to be torn down in order to accommodate the elevators.
We don't have a choice. We need to have the service, we need to order that service, and that's, we have to be realistic.
Question, Bill.
I think Kim, what,
No, I agree, we need it, and this is something that we've needed for years, even before the thought of an elevator. We've maxed out our budget for quite some time to keep it on some. So I guess our biggest question is like, more or less, we're trying to get a decision to where do I take the funds from if you should pass this? Is it gonna become an ARPA fund? Is it gonna become, maintenance to the town hall that we do out of our general fund? Or we also have funds in the, capital budget. So those are another thing to consider when you're deciding on those two options.
Would it qualify to be covered by the ARPA fund?
Yes, yes.
And do we so far have enough in in the ARPA allocation to cover this cost in addition to the other costs we have?
We anticipate by July to get the second two payments, one from the county and one from the federal. We should have just about 200,000 coming in total. The elevator estimate is just a bare estimate right now of 134, but there aren't any bids in yet. They're just being sent out.
But I think there's enough money.
So we're gonna,
It's probably enough money, and according to what Bill has read, and it can be used, the ARPA funds is, they've gotten very lenient on what we can use it
Right.
for. I don't know.
They're lenient now, they're not gonna be later, so use the money.
Spend the money then.
Yep. And I did talk to, we do have $10,000 from the Winter Foundation, to close to that. That's the added on. That was given to us as a
for the
grant.
grant, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
For the handicap accessibility,
For the
so that would definitely have to
Yeah,
adjust.
so
elevator
that's
down.
another 10,000 above the ARPA. So we have that.
So is it 200,000, Kim, for the
Well,
total?
200 is what we're gonna get in from both county and federal.
97 something.
Second payment should be here in July.
I got a question. Well, maybe this doesn't have anything to do with it, but what was the email from the foundation talking about upgrading?
I was going to talk about it next. I was going to talk about with this.
I understand that, but does it have something to do with this here?
Yes.
They were gonna request funds from us to upgrade that, so.
No, I did talk to, I had a meeting with Bob Donald, and I assured him his concern was there's pipes and stuff in there, and I assured him that that would all be included, whenever work is done, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. And he sent a letter to Bill O'Kane, I believe, or you called him today, and there was no mention of any upgrades or anything.
He specifically, yes.
There's an email today.
Oh,
Yep.
There's nothing, this is not something I snatched out.
Oh, okay, I didn't see
I
that.
didn't think it was there, so
Yeah.
I'm wondering what this has to do with this. Do we want to allow funds for that?
Isn't the
He's
email today about the easement?
No, he specifically says the generator soon has to be upgraded, and he wants the town to chip in, is what I got from him.
Is
I
that,
haven't seen that.
Okay,
is that coming
Okay.
today? I didn't see it.
I didn't see that
Go ahead.
I read your email, Bill.
let me finish this and then I'll, that, because that would have to be happen if, whether we did the elevator or did nothing. The engine over there is falling apart for that generator. We have had the luxury of that generator. It would have cost us years ago about $7,000 or $8,000 to put a generator out here. We would have had to insure it. We would have had to put oil in it. We would have had it and inspected it about $600 a year and so on and so forth. And right now we'd be looking to replace it because it would be about 15 years old. Okay. We had none of those costs because when Stan Mack was over there, we got them to agree to allow us to hitch to it. The only thing it costs us is to run a wire from Homestead over here into the building and hook up over there. The only issue that I want to talk about, so that So whether or not we're gonna help them replace that engine that's falling apart, and it's old engine, it needs to be replaced, okay? It's a big, huge diesel engine. The only thing that that has to do with this is that in the hookup to this building, when we go to 200 amps, that generator is a 100 amp, and the new generator that they're gonna get over there is gonna be a 100 amp. What they hook up here to the switch that we pull is only gonna feed 100 amps. It's not gonna feed 200 amps. We don't need it to feed 200 amps. We don't need it to run everything in this building. We don't even need to run an elevator with it because the elevator will go to zero if there's no power. It just goes down. Okay, so we don't need it we don't need that, and that's the way they generally design all these things according to the engineer. So, and Rick Ham of Lawrence and Wilbur knows that when he hooks up everything here, he will hook up to their switch 100 amps only. He will probably use the panel that's there right now, and that's all he'll hook up to it. Anything else in addition that's over 100 amps will be run off a secondary. Okay, so as far as the cost of doing that, I don't know if they will ever charge us for doing that, but it has nothing to do with anything that we're talking about tonight. That's something that if we want to stay on theirs, we may have to join with them, and I think we should join with them to some small percentage, because Kim and I, as we talk, we can go home. 50 residents and 70 people eating dinner can't go home.
No.
Okay, all right, so that's the difference. So whatever that negotiation is, so that cost is completely separate from this discussion. What isn't separate is the fact that we need to give them an easement. We need to get an easement from them, I should say, to run our service across there. I was going to draw that easement and run it by the attorney. If you want the attorney to draw it originally, whatever you guys want to do, I think it's a really good idea that have that recorded along with some sort of a map that measures how far down the wall it's going to go and draw a straight line across the thing. Doesn't have to be a survey map. We have nothing on what's there except that I know where it comes through the wall, and I remember that it went straight over to that other building going under that wall, and that's how everybody else remembers it. Is that where it is? We hope that's where it is, because if it's there, then you don't have to worry about it. With regard to digging across there, the only issue there is that sewer pipe, but it's probably 4 or 5 feet down. That's what they said. You can look in the sewers. There's a manhole out here, you can go down there and see how far down in the ground it is. That if that is the case, we're not worried about it because we're only going to go maybe 2 feet with the wire, maybe not even that 18 inches, 2 feet. I don't know what they're going to do, but it isn't going to be 4 feet down, but we will be aware that it's there. We could have also, if you look at that map, you can see the other 2 transformers there. The possibility of attaching to one of them without putting a new one was discussed. The problem is it's like spaghetti between those 2 transformers and our building. No one knows what's there. When you go back further on the lawn, they know there's nothing there, but they don't know what's up in front. And the Green Mountain Power says you don't want to dig here. So that's why, that's one of the reasons why he wants to put it back and do a new transformer just for our building. And so the Winter Foundation has agreed to that. So what I'd like to leave here tonight with is that we can deal with Winter Foundation as far as the easement goes, that we can deal with Lawrence and Wilbur as far as their $7,900 bid for doing the 200 amp improvement, the $5,300, and these are estimates from Green Mountain Power to put in the, single transformer to serve it. And finally, the Lawrence and Wilbur bid of, $1,600 to remove all the electricity that will be, that will be affected by putting in the elevator in that location, both the, closet and what's on the wall. And then to ask, fifthly, rather, it would be to ask, the, alarm people to move to what it would cost to move theirs and see, and make that arrangement when we do tear down that.
So I want to make a motion, Mr. Fred?
There's a lot.
I'm hoping the building committee is really very, very well informed about what Bill just recommended.
Yeah, I make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll make the second.
Do we need to have more discussion?
But it doesn't, this motion doesn't take into account the upgrade on this
No.
generator.
No.
On the,
That's another piece of the pie.
Yes, the upgrade for the, we're only dealing with no upgrade of the Wyndham Foundation generator. We're only talking about what we have to do for this building here to put the 200 amp service in the elevator.
they don't even know when they're gonna do that generator.
Correct, so don't worry about that. That'll be another day.
But it would be something that they should talk to the town about.
Yeah, and maybe they will, and maybe they won't.
The other
Let's see
question,
what
you
happens.
said we don't need a generator that's 200, you said 200 amps?
200 amp.
Why wouldn't the foundation want to go that way? Because of the in and the homestead?
Because it costs a lot more to go with a 200 amp generator than what they have.
Yeah.
And they don't need it. That's what they said. They don't need 200.
Yeah. And we only need 100 amps to keep the building occupied,
Yeah.
enough of the building to keep the heat and light and whatever is necessary, so.
My only question is, and I wouldn't mind if Eric, if he's been following this, he knows everything about electricity. Just as long as we're not painting ourselves into a corner sometime down the road. It sounds like all the bases are covered. Sounds like something's not gonna pop up and we're gonna say, oh, well, we should have done this, that.
No, I think this is
You know.
good.
And if Eric wants to weigh in on,
Been following your discussion. I did have my hand raised before, but the, are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
I'm glad to hear that the transfer switch situation has been looked at. I think that going with whatever the Wyndham Foundation replaces their generator with is the right way to go. More salt to the soup. I think I trenched for that connection on the transformer box into the homestead. So I'd ask him where the conduit goes. And you may be able to pull some wires through the conduit or do a line trace on it to find out where it actually goes underground.
Okay.
So is the line, we're gonna follow this one, the red one.
The,
We're not gonna do.
you see where the box is and the bubbles around that square?
Yeah,
It's in direct line from the rear end, I mean, the most northerly end of that
Yeah.
box into the building. Probably not where that line is there, because I do know that that line goes over the wires, but we'd have to, what Carl and I talked about at our meeting with the foundation is that we go out there, look where those wires are. There's a water line and the power line come into the building about the same place, probably at different depths, but they both come in about the same place on that wall downstairs. And so we would move northerly, we'd move that way from it to avoid all those, which would probably put us at the at the back end of that new transformer.
Okay.
But the only thing they think they're gonna be concerned about that far back is that sewer line that goes back, and you can see just before this shade tree, just before you see that in the lawn, that's where that manhole is.
Okay. Well, we gotta do, oh, I'm sorry.
In the motion, can it also be stated where you'd like me to take the funds from for this project, just so
Yeah.
I have direction from you guys?
From the opera fund. So add that to the motion.
Was there any, you and I talked about, what was the recommendation?
It depends if you had any idea for ARPA funds for the rest of the remainder. That's the only thing, and making sure that it does pass through ARPA, otherwise it would be maintenance.
I think a portion of, I think it should all go through ARPA. It could be argued that a portion of the 200 M was made necessary a long time ago and could be considered maintenance of the building. And so,
That was my
and so
concern.
there probably should be some share taken out of our reserve or capital budget, whatever you want to call it, for the building, and there's 8,000 there.
There's 11,000 in capital, and then I thought possibly if you were to go that route, the transformer could actually come from the capital, and then we can incorporate the electrical part of it as part of the ARPA. And I don't know what your thoughts are.
The
Or
only,
just
the only comment I would make is I believe I heard Fred say that with respect to the ARPA funding, that there were no requirements.
That's correct.
So,
And it seems to me the impetus for this expense is the fact that we're putting the elevator in, which is clearly part of our ARPA funding. So, I mean, if we're going to reserve funds for some future expense, I'd rather reserve our own money than the ARPA money,
So,
because the ARPA money is a grant for this purpose. As long as that passes muster, I wouldn't want to do anything that does not pass
And
muster.
it will go away after 2025. It's
Yeah.
not something that we can hold on to. If we don't use it, it goes away.
I would go with Fred's recommendation and just use the money and that's it.
That's.
Okay, so I added to the motion that the funds, we do the above, what I discussed, and the funds would be paid from the ARPA. Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much. That'll get us going. I also have from Chris Cole, the starting of the bid package that will go out. He's looking for, let me just explain. We were initially going to look for a general contractor that could then subcontract the stuff out. The more and more we talk to everybody, including Chris Cole, who is the engineer for the architectural firm, he believes that the framing, if we could bid it separately, the framing for the elevator built to the specifications of whichever elevator company is supplying it. Could be one bid. The electrical hookup of that could be another bid, and the elevator itself, the third bid. And it can be done that way, and it might be less expensive than to have a general contractor, who, most of whom are so dang busy, they don't have time to do any of this stuff, instead of bidding it out that way. So what we're talking, what Chris is gonna look at, and what we're talking about is doing it in small pieces, which, except for the elevator itself, would allow the people here in town most likely to bid on it and get the jobs, rather than having a general contractor like the ones in Springfield, the big ones that did our town garage and so on, because it's basically a framing job with the finishing work, building a closet that the elevator goes in.
Well, if it helps anybody make this decision, that when I installed the elevator, when we did our renovation, we did exactly that. The elevator company gave us the specifications, the carpenter built the shaft, electrician came in with the specifications, so we had three different people not having the elevator coming, and it came out better and cheaper
Mhm.
and quicker.
We
So-
definitely want to give the jobs to our local firms
So
if at all.
that's just my experience with that. I didn't give it, the elevator company would have done everything, but we did it the other way, and it worked out good every time.
Keep it local if we can.
Yeah,
All right, wastewater, there's nothing, everything's been done, it's in their hands, so that's the way it is. It's all been signed, sealed and delivered, and it's up to them. Any other business?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When we talked about the ARPA money, and if you saw the shopper, I think it was this past week, the shopper, they were having two public hearings
Yeah.
about ARPA money.
Bellows Falls is doing that.
Is there a stipulation in the ARPA monies that the town, being Grafton, do they have to have any public meetings as to how we use the ARPA money?
No, it's a choice of the town.
Do we have any public comment?
Well, I suppose I should speak up as I can. I mean, Bill's been working on the grant for the wall work up along the Hinkley Brook between Dolly's house and mine. And so I came to just make myself available to you, to answer any questions that you might have in working on the decision about whether or not the town will help us in funding that. That's it. I have tons of information about the wall, the problems from the past, the action that the town, FEMA, state agencies have taken in funding that. I think John was a lot of that. And I have all the information, and I'm here to share it with you, or down the road, if it's more appropriate down the road.
Well, I think, Bill, you want a little more time, right?
Well, no, I didn't know that he had all that. I think you guys should have, guys should have a subcommittee right now to go over that, because we're gonna be dealing with this really quickly. The work has to be done, 220 days, I think it's, from the day it's declared, so I think we're looking at September to get the work done. Now, it isn't gonna take more than a week or so to do the work that is contracted right now, which is just Patrick's, but I think it would be really good if, I don't think we should take a whole, a meeting of the select board to go through the materials that he has, but they think a committee of the select board, two people should sit with him, go through that, and then present their findings to the select board with regard to whether or not the select board in the town should take some responsibility, or whatever you want to call it, for the additional water going down the creek because of the fact we're saving the road up above by putting in bigger culverts. I think that's the simple, that might be a little simplistic, but that's the way I put the problem, that there's more water going through there, less being held up on the hill by 6-foot culverts. But they have a 5 by 14-foot culvert that triples the cubic feet of water going through the pipe a second, makes a big difference. And I think that, and we noticed that this time because we lost Hinkley Brook all the way up above 600, where we put in the culverts, but we didn't, where that big culvert is, the first culvert is you're coming down the hill, and the one by my house is, you didn't have any problem with the road at all, because the water stayed in the creeks. And that saved a significant amount of money, 200,000 or 300,000 maybe.
So do we have anybody who wants to volunteer in this committee?
What about you, John? You know all about culverts.
My biggest concern in the whole thing is the towns aren't involved in it, because you have other damage to other landowners. So if you help that, what are the other landowners say? That's one of my concerns.
We run the risk of opening up a can of worms, and but you have the opportunity to maybe define what we're gonna do when we follow, hydraulics and hydrology in other places, and what are we gonna do for the people down below, whether that is a lot or nothing. But it's got to be faced, because for me anyway, it's something that bothers me, that it's bothered me since '98, that we mitigate culverts to save a road. But what are we doing downstream?
But what you're doing is you're not fixing the whole problem there, you're only fixing part of it.
Yeah.
So what does that do?
Well, in this case, if you fix that part, you've taken, you have big culverts above, big culverts below, and you got this narrow, what I consider narrow.
Right. But you're not fixing the whole
Restrict.
problem that got washed out up there. That's the problem.
Well, you're not fixing it up above, that'll have to be fixed, but
Yeah,
what
but
you're,
fix a small section, you know, what good does that do? When you've got two other sections washed out on the same thing?
you mean on the site?
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. The whole site should be, the whole site is a bottleneck that needs to be
Right,
fixed.
but it's not under this program here, it's only one site of the three.
They're only addressing one site,
Right.
and what we're talking about is the town gonna address the whole thing.
Well, then it gets involved in other people that had damage in other locations.
Something that there is a narrow precedent in dealing with that wall, that location because of the culverts. So that started in '96 and then was done again in 2003, 2004, and then again after Irene. And that's a narrow precedent, not about anywhere else in town, but about that site. That's my need for
What
it.
concerns me about this issue is, I think what Bill pointed out last week, which is when we attempt to follow the FEMA guidelines for these large culverts, we, as an unintended consequence, we cause this water flow downstream that has these negative impacts on those properties. And I think the question that's being asked is, to what extent does the town have responsibility then, because we've installed these culverts, to mitigate some of the expense for the property owners downstream? Isn't that the basic question we're asking? And I think Bill makes a good point. This problem is not going to go away, because the kind of culverts we're going to get approved in the future are these big culverts, right? That's what FEMA is approved.
It's gonna make the problem worse.
It's
Every
going to
time you
make
have
the
a problem,
problem
you're gonna get
worse.
bigger.
Yeah,
Even the ones you have in.
yeah.
All right, so,
I mean, it seems like a highway committee problem to me. I think the highway committee should take it on. It has to do with culverts. I mean, Kathy's right.
You're legal.
Rich is an engineer. John has a lot of experience with
I don't-
culverts.
Know too much about all this stuff, and I'll sit down with you.
No, I'd like to discuss this
Yeah.
with Pat and somebody else and see what we come up with. But my biggest concern, I'm telling you right now, is there's other places other than that that got washed out because the bigger culverts were put in.
Sure.
So once you make the decision, we're gonna fix that up there with taxpayer money, what are you gonna do about these other people?
And my understanding is this is strictly on private property.
Accepting
Yeah,
that the town, as in 3 cases in the recent act, address the rebuilding of those walls as a result of the culvert problems that exist on Hinkley Road, Firetown Road, and the culvert that is directly across my property.
Yeah.
It's not just rainwater, it is rainwater that's coming through culverts across my property in addition to what's coming down.
Yeah.
So the town actually has a culvert on my property.
well, I think, John, but, you know, I think you're right, the highway committee,
Yeah, sure.
take a look at this thing.
Sure.
And this is getting more complicated.
Yeah.
And it's not something we can make a decision now. But if we have culverts on this property, we have culverts that we're gonna install, I mean, I think it's something because we're gonna face this thing again. When maybe it's not next year, but maybe 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. So,
Yeah, I brought the same issue to Homeland Security over the damage from this and to FEMA. You know, what are you doing with the mitigation where you use the H&H, but you're not paying attention to down below? And they don't want to face it because it's too damn complicated. And it may be too complicated here, but I think we have to face it, especially, and you guys need to decide the amount, but I think Patrick's right. We have funneled a lot of water across his property without consideration of what it's going to do before it gets to Middletown Road. They didn't have to they didn't have to go into Hinkley Brook where they did go into Hinkley Brook off Fire Pond. But they did. And they did it before that culvert.
That was a recommendation from the
I-
engineer.
But I know, but they didn't have to.
No,
No, they could have gone down and gone into the brook way, way further down, so. That's an issue.
all right, well,
Okay.
let's see what happens. Any other business? If not, motion to adjourn? Anybody in favor? Thank you for coming.